Okay, so right now I'm making a 3D snowflake, which they end up looking like this. I took the box that my shoes were in previously, but I've now put those in my room away. But these are the snowflakes I'm making. So this is the kind that I've known how to make like my whole entire life. We learned how to make these in elementary school, and like these are really fun. But I wanted to teach myself how to make new snowflakes this year. So these were my first attempts. These three right here. These are my first attempts, and I was like, these are fine, but you like can't see all the different pieces in there. So then I started making them with less parts to become 3D, and I ended up with snowflakes like this, and they're cool 3D snowflakes, and I'm gonna make a garland out of them, and they're super cool. So this is how you do it. Okay, so I take a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of computer paper, and then I measure 3.5 inches and 7 inches. So we have 3.5 inches and we have 7 inches. And then you go down to the other end of the paper and you measure 3.5 inches and 7 inches. And then you can also just cut with regular scissors, which is what I was doing when I was at my friend's house. And now I'm using my blade, and you're gonna just cut off this chunk that you don't need. That's the 7-inch line, and then you go to the 3.5-inch line, you line up your points, cut it, and thanks to my graphic design degree, I own this nice cutting mat and this ginormous ruler. But most people don't have these things. That's okay. You don't actually need these things. You just need a regular ruler, and you need a regular pair of scissors or any kind of like box cutter or anything, as long as it's safe. Only use things that are safe to use. So then what I like to do is, the internet will tell you, like the tutorials that I've found, they use this whole piece of paper. But when you use this whole piece of paper, you get the snowflakes that come out like this, which are beautiful. They're nice, but to me they have too many like pieces, and they look better like that. So what I do is I cut the paper in half, and then you end up making two out of one sheet, and they look more like this. So since this is an 11-inch piece of paper, what you do, so you can measure it, or the easier way to do it is to just fold it in half, which you just take it, line up the ends really well, and then fold it in half, crease, 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 and then you have this crease here, and you lay it down. Grab your scissors and cut that if you're using scissors. If you're doing it the way I'm doing it, lay your ruler down on top of the line there. Grab your blade, cut it down there. Now you have two pieces of paper. The next thing you have to do is turn this piece of paper into this. So essentially what you do is you fold the paper in half, then you take one side and you fold it down, you take the other side and you fold that down. So you're essentially folding the paper in half again, but you want them to go opposite directions. And then you take this part and you fold that in, and then fold that in half again. So essentially then you're just going to take every section and fold it in half again. So this one you take and you fold that in half, and you flip it over, and you fold that in half, and you flip it over. The nice part is when you flip it over, it's already folded in half, and then you fold that in half, and then you have your accordion. And that part you have to be really careful on, because if you're not really precise, then you're going to have all different size sections, and you want all of your sections to be the same size. So then how I find the middle is I just roughly fold this in half, so make those meet at the top, pinch that down below, grab a stapler, put that stapler in the crease you just made, punch, and then you have your piece of paper that you're going to turn into a snowflake. So essentially from there, all you do is make a pattern, you cut it out, and then you turn it into a snowflake. So I'll show you how I do that. So I get a scrap piece of paper the size of one of these pieces, And then I decide how I want the top to look. So I've noticed lately that the ones that look cool on the ends are doing really well. So I just sketch a little design of what I want it to look like. So that is how I want this one to look. And I've never done this pattern before. I just kind of eyeball it. And then I take my sharpest pair of scissors, which be very careful about this also. I was originally using my blade, but I would not suggest using this. I would suggest using a pair of scissors. My sharpest pair of scissors actually is in my Swiss Army knife, but you probably have a really sharp pair of scissors in your house. If you have like hair cutting scissors, I don't know if I would suggest using those, but those are really sharp scissors usually. These are my regular house scissors, or like crafting scissors. I was using these, but honestly they're not sharp enough. So then for this part you just cut out all the little pieces that you like, that you want it to look like. And the only reason you really make a stencil is because you need it to be the same on both sides, and cutting all those pieces of paper at the same time is like very difficult. So wouldn't suggest doing that. Okay, so in the end, that's what my snowflake is going to look like. Just push all those pieces aside. So then what you do is you take this piece, you put it on top of this piece, and just trace those pieces. So put it on top. And then you flip it and you put it on top this way so that it's the same pattern on both sides. So make sure you don't turn it over, you just flip it. So no turning, just flipping. And then you trace that pattern on this side. You just gotta make sure it lines up properly. And then see, it's the same pattern up here as it is down here. So if you press them together, they're looking at the same pattern. And then you just cut those out and you have a snowflake. You just cut these out. Be very careful not to cut yourself. Okay, now you have all of that cut out and it's the same on either side. And then what you have to do is you separate all these little pieces. So those are separated. And then those are separated. And I like to crease them down here because it makes it easier. So you just crease down in the middles. Make sure they're bending well. So essentially you have this now. And so then you take tape, just the amount that you need, not very much. I like to tape in between the holes, but I'll just show you this one really quickly with normal taping. So you take that, you tape it to the end of the other side. So now you have a half circle. I can let it go. It stays as a half circle. Then you take another piece of tape. And you do this side, so those are the two ends. And then this part right here is supposed to meet up. You can tell by where the flakes are supposed to meet up. So you tape that together. And then you have another snowflake. And like, I'll go back in and I'll tape like this together right here. And I'll go back in and I'll tape this together. But essentially, that is how you make a 3D snowflake. Isn't that cool? I think it's cool.